Hello everyone, my name is Arditha. Welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be taking a look at the Decisive Strike rework that has finally been announced and is going to be available in the next public test server. Now, without any further ado, let's just get straight into it. So, first off we have an overview as to why the perk has been changed. And they basically state that it's frustrating for the killer, as the killer will have all of their momentum reset and can happen up to 4 times. And they also said that it's frustrating for survivors because the killer can dribble to prevent the usage of Decisive. So with those two tactics in mind, they have created a new change for Decisive Strike that allows survivors to have an impactful second chance perk without being a free escape from the killer with, no counterplay involved. And I'm really interested in this change, and I think it's really good. So, the way that Decisive Strike is going to work is that you cannot use it the first time that you've been downed. And now, if you have been unhooked or unhook yourself, Decisive Strike will be active for up to 60 seconds at level 3. And once Decisive Strike is active, that is when you can use it like normal, and it will have a bigger skill check. So the way this works is, if the killer tries to attack you within a minute of you being unhooked, you get the Decisive Strike just like before, but there's an added bonus, which is that the skill check is significantly bigger than the old one to reduce frustrations for primarily console players, and also the skill check happens during the pickup animation, so dribbling cannot be a thing. So what does this do for Decisive Strike? What does this mean for survivors and killers alike? What does this perk now sort of imply when using it? It's now based around anti-tunneling, and I believe that Decisive Strike now is in, if this change were to go through, it would be in a really good position. The stun will be 3 seconds, I think it was, and it's overall basically saying no tunneling, and this is really good for everyone. So now, if a survivor were to use Decisive Strike and you get Decisive Strike as a killer, there's no room to complain. There's no room for a killer to complain about Decisive, because if you get hit by Decisive, all we can say to that is stop fucking tunneling. And it's as simple as that. Decisive Strike is now a really good perk for preventing tunneling without being scummy, as it's basically perfect to be paired with Borrowed Time, in my opinion. So this is primarily really good for streamers as well, because as you guys know, people will go out of their way to ensure that streamers die first. Primarily people with Twitch TV in their names, but some of the more well-known people get it as well. So what this means is, if the killer does decide to tunnel you, you will be able to use Decisive as you always have been, but you won't be scummy whilst doing so, and there is counterplay. The counterplay is just don't tunnel. This, in my opinion, guys, is a huge deal, and I think it is absolutely amazing, because Decisive Strike retains the power of, nullifying that pickup, just like it always used to do, so you get that satisfying, insta drop for having for hitting the skill check. And it might be even more satisfying now because it happens during the pickup animation, so it's a bit faster in which it happens, so it might actually feel better to use. And on top of that, A, it's not going to be OP because there is a form of counterplay to it, and B, it's it's just something that I can use now and feel good about doing so. Now, this is going to be a discussion of many people for the next few days, and I want to address some problems that people have created with it. So there is also another niche to this perk that I did not mention earlier. When you use Decisive Strike and you stab the killer with it, you become the obsession. So if someone else is the obsession, you take it, you become the obsession now. And there's no wiggle for 35% or anything like that. Decisive Strike is always instant if you get hit whilst it's activated. So this means that a lot of obsession perks are going to see some interesting shifts with how this works. And as you guys know, Marth88 is a very well-known Dead by Daylight player, and he has recently became a bit more involved with the game after taking a break for a while, and his concern was that it's going to render Dying Light completely and utterly useless which means this change isn't going to go through. Now the reason that he thinks it's going to be useless is that, you could kill the obsession, and then, you get that 25% debuff, which is already really hard to get. But then someone could activate DS, and then boom, your Dying Light's gone. There are also numerous other changes, other things that can be implied, like Remember Me could be either better or weaker, all sorts of different things. But this is the one that had the strongest impact in my mind. Now, what I say to this is, in my opinion, I believe that isn't going to impact this change going through, because Dying Light is irrelevant. It's bad. 25% isn't even that much. It's decent, but it's not that much considering that the game's usually pretty much over by the time you get it activated. I think Dying Light is due a rework, A, because of that, and B, because it encourages tunneling, which is something that no one likes. So I believe Dying Light will be getting a rework eventually. So I don't think that's going to impact the Decisive Strike coming through. Now, other than that, I think it would be good, because say you accidentally kill you save the best for last obsession. Say you accidentally kill them, you get hit with a DS, that's nice, you get your perk back again. So it's not all bad for the killer, there is some tactical use to it. But then again, even if Dying Light was somewhat of a perk that actually is relevant, and it does nullify it, all I say to that is, don't tunnel. It's just don't tunnel. It's as simple as that. And there's going to be counterplay on both sides. There will be awkward tactics on both sides. One thing could be that the killer can just hit the survivor, leave them on the floor, wait for that minute, and then pick them up. But once again, slugging is easy to reset if the survivors are playing properly, unless it's a nurse, but nurse is something else. Anyway, you got that. There are going to be more tactics coming from survivor side now if they get unhooked. And, you can do some sort of, especially survivor friends, you can do a tactic. You can have the unhooker use borrowed time, and you get unhooked. You have borrowed time and DS on you. You can body block the killer. You can take the hit to activate borrowed time and save the rescuer. You can take another hit to go down, and then you can take the DS, and have the killer use that, which means that you've been rescued and you've wasted a significant amount of time just from the killer being in animations. That's not to mention looping. If you chain borrowed time and DS now, I think it's going to be a counterable but strong setup, and I think that this can, in fact, introduce some new and interesting tactics to the game. Is this change enough to bring Decisive Strike in line with other perks in the game? Yes, 100%. The reason for that is because there is counterplay to it, easily accessible counterplay to it. And when in the right situation, this perk is still very strong. Remember, the skill check's bigger as well. It's just as simple as that. Is there counterplay? Yes. Is it good when it's used properly? Yes. Simple as that. That's how all things should be in this game. And I've seen a lot of survivors saying on Twitter, the devs should stop targeting perks that are completely fine and start fixing the bugs in their game. And with the bugs, I say yes, they do need to be addressed. But if you think Decisive Strike was okay, you are delusional. You are very delusional and need a big reality check. And don't worry, guys. I am with you for everyone that thinks that okay, Decisive Strike's been sorted out. Next up comes Noed. I agree with you there. Sure, there is counterplay to Noed, but it's just the most tedious counterplay ever, breaking all the totems. No one wants to do that. So hopefully we see that eventually. But right now, Decisive Strike changes here. It's really good in my opinion. Guys, please let me know in the comments what you think. A, what do you think of it overall? B, come up with some interesting tactics like the one I mentioned with borrowed time to see what we can do on both sides with this perk now, because it's a more interactive perk now, and I am going to be using Decisive Strike when this change goes through. I love it. I really do love it. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like, and hopefully I will catch you guys in the next one.